Hello and welcome to Talk Spooky to Me, the Ghost Story Guys mail show. I'm Brennan Storr.
I'm Paul Bestel.
And this is our opportunity to hear from you, our listeners. Paul Bestel, my friend, the last episode 211 has only been out a few days, but the entire internet rose up as one and spanked you soundly for messing up some dates. How does it feel to be the internet's most paddled man?
I'm very surprised in myself. I'm very disappointed, so I'd like to apologise to all the listeners, my friends, my family, my pets, John F. Kennedy, Marina Diamandis, and Charlize Theron. For some reason, my brain, because I was so knackered, my brain decided that Mary Tudor, Mary Queen of Scots, had become the same person for some reason, which is obviously not true. Mary Tudor was obviously Queen Elizabeth's half-sister and a nasty bitch. And therefore, for some reason, my brain decided that they had become the same person, whereas obviously Mary Queen of Scots was not the same person and lived in relatively happiness until Elizabeth decided that she had to kill her due to the people around her. So apologies for everybody. It's not like I've got a GCSE and an A-level in British history, and so I can't even say that I was just paraphrasing it. I when I listened to the episode, I thought, what the fuck am I on about? I wasn't drunk. I wasn't stoned. I was just...
No, but you could barely keep your eyes open. As someone who was on the call with you, we were both fucked up on that episode. It was a bad day for both of us. And
yes.
Yeah.
I got the beginning and the end right. I just got the middle bit confused. So apologies, everyone. I'm as a lover of history, I'm very disappointed in myself. It won't happen again. I won't ever try and talk tired.
Well, I mean, let's not hold you to that exactly. But,
I'm usually tired.
I was going to say, yeah, that's we're recording. We always record this late in the night at your place. So
I'm like the Hulk. That's my secret. I'm always tired.
Well, I mean, I did not make any historical gaffes, but that's because I know my limits enough that despite I do love history, but more its patterns and echoes, I know that dates and specificity are beyond me. So I leave that to you. And last week was such a bad week that I could not have conjured that anyways. Of course, we... the day we recorded the show was the day that we realized that our cat, Chewy, was probably not going to be with us much longer. And then the next day that came true. Mm. So it was very, very bad. This last week, I won't have a lot of stories on this episode because I have been in a fog since last Friday. And I'm not going to dwell on it, but I will say that, because she had feline dementia. And so she had started sundowning about 4 or 5 years ago. The darkness was a real problem for her. So we started leaving the living room light on. And we would leave the TV on and with some videos of birds, which she found reassuring, just so we could sleep. And it's been 6 days now since she's gone. And the TV's off, but I can't bring myself to turn that light off. I think that's going to be there for a long time. On the bright side, though, I had a lovely pork katsu sandwich today, so it's not all bad news.
Yes, I don't think we'll have tougher weeks than we both did last week with everything going on in both our lives. Obviously, my partner's been very ill for quite a while, and half my house is a building site, and I'm not sleeping. But other than that, it's all right. I'm sleeping now, so it's okay. We're through it. This will be the last show done from the lounge.
All right, well, for this last show done from the lounge, we're going to need some listener mail.
Our courteous and efficient staff is on call 24 hours a day to serve all your supernatural elimination needs.
We're ready to believe you.
First up is just a quick one from Comes Here on YouTube. Love the stories. Wish you guys would keep your politics out of the show. This is on episode 211, and Comes Here, I just want to say, I wish your brain wasn't so poisoned by the internet that you thought human empathy was political. So we're both disappointed, and I wanted to put this right at the front of the show so you could stop listening and you can go find someone else who has your similarly damaged view of the human condition. Goodbye. We don't need you. Moving on.
Pippa from Instagram writes, I've just discovered your amazing podcast through real-life ghost stories. Brennan, your laugh is amazing. You keep me company whilst I work and sew. However, I did think Paul looked like Pat from Ghosts, the UK version. I was more surprised to see what he actually looked like. Keep up the great storytelling.
We get this a lot, this people being like, man, you guys don't look like what I thought you would look like. A lot of folks seem to think I would have a beard, which is interesting. I've never in my life been able to grow a beard. I've tried. It just does not work. It looks like moss slowly creeping across the face of a rock.
Yeah, well, I don't grow beards because I've gone too grey.
Oh, okay. Can you grow a beard, though?
Oh, yeah, I've been since I started shaving when I was 13.
Oh, yeah, so did I. But it's never gone anywhere. Much like me, it's just a lot of, like, unrealized potential.
Yeah, well, I had a shave 3 hours ago.
Oh, well, okay.
Honestly, I'd just like it to come out the top of my head rather than everywhere else.
It's that Mediterranean blood.
Yes. As you can see, it's been very sunny here this week.
I was noticing, goddamn, man. You look like you're on vacation.
Oh, it's beautiful. We've done the driest March for nearly 100 years, and it's glorious sunshine. It's warmer than Ibiza here at the minute.
Next up is from Jillian on Patreon. Jillian says, Brennan, I used to have issues with a work laptop, such as screen going crazy, crashing, memory issues, and our IT department couldn't figure it out. So they ordered me a new one. Shortly after using it, the same things started again. They couldn't figure it out. I finally realized that the wide bracelets I was wearing to cover up my tattoo at work was resting against the laptop as I typed. The magnet clasp was causing all the issues. Oh, that's amazing. And then, of course, this is in reference to a story I told on a past show where my old boss had gremlins, the likes of which you cannot possibly imagine. And Jillian, I hope you didn't tell them, because I certainly wouldn't. I would just be, well, I guess the problem spontaneously resolved itself. How about that?
I wouldn't. I'd just walk around going, I am Magneto.
In fairness, you do that a lot anyways.
Blowing up everybody's laptops in the office, so I get a raise.
Paul, we noticed you ordered about $400 worth of magnets from AliExpress. You're just chucking them around like discus.
It's what Sir Ian McKellen would want. I
like to think so. I remember a friend of mine served him breakfast once at a place here in Victoria. And she said he was very nice, and someone said, oh, did you ask him about Lord of the Rings? And she said, no, I'm not an asshole. The poor motherfucker's just trying to eat his breakfast.
I shouldn't have done that. I should have said, how did you feel playing a vampire in the Pet Shop Boys video Heart in 1988?
If I ever see him, I'll remember that. I was in the same lineup as him trying to getting into a concert, but we didn't have a chance to actually see him. But if I do, I will ask.
What's he doing over there all the time? What's happening?
I think he's got friends in town. I know, what's his name? Colin Firth hangs out here a lot because his ex-wife, is it Meg Tilly? She has a place here, and apparently he stays there quite a bit.
Meg Tilly?
I think that's what someone told me. Someone I know knows.
That's a name I've not heard for a long time.
I think that's the story. He stays, I think it's a Meg Tilly's place he stays at when he's here, if I'm not mistaken. He almost ran over a friend of mine once. Colin Firth was out for bombing around in this little sports car, and he was just distracted, and he almost ran over my friend Tom.
I'm terribly sorry.
And, yeah, basically, he just gave him like this, and kind of a little nod, sorry, and that was pretty much the extent of the interaction.
English. Sorry about that, old chap.
Yeah, he was good about it,
Lucky 150 years ago to run him over.
And then they would have
told you to leave the house, get back.
And then they would have had to pay him for damage to his carriage.
Yes.
Oh, Victoria. Weird celebrity encounters.
You're not wrong. Let's raise it up a bar with this next message from Trevor, who says, hey guys, I've been listening for a few years now. Finally got caught up a month ago and have worked myself up into sending a message. This comes as a prequel and a follow-up to a message you read from my wife Alicia back on Talk Spooky to Me, Hail Caesar, from July 2023 regarding my late father. This has to do with the day leading up to his passing in 2020. From me pulling myself out of bed at 5:30 in the morning, something just felt off. I felt exhausted, my body ached, and something was scratching at the back of my mind. But not seeing anything specifically wrong, I foolishly ignored it and went to work. Fast forward a few hours and this feeling had grown, getting progressively worse. I felt like it was telling me this wasn't where I was supposed to be. I finally decided about 11:30 that I'd pack it in and let my supervisor know I wasn't feeling well and taking off early. And that's when I got the phone call. My dad, who was in end-of-life hospice care, had gone from okay to very bad. As soon as I got the news, it was like a weight lifted off me, and I made straight for the hospital to say my goodbyes. Gotta say, it was one of the worst days of my life. Then, back in 2023, I think he might have been trying to contact me through a dream. First off, I don't actively dream. By the time I wake up, I've no memory of them, complete blank slate. But not always. In this one, my father came to me to tell me that he needed to go now and I needed to move on. I remember asking, how do I do that? And he simply replied, you have to find a way. This was a pretty typical answer from him in life. He was big on, you need to be able to figure things out for yourself. Now, was it actually him? I don't know, but it definitely felt like him. Brennan, when you're back in Ontario, I'd be happy to treat you to a beer sometimes, and I'll have one for Paul as well. Oh, and any chance of some more ghost stories from around the Golden Horseshoe? Sorry for the long rambling message, and thank you. Trevor.
So, Trevor, that's a deal. You can count on the beer whenever that aligns. I have no idea when I'm going to be back in Ontario. And thanks for sharing the story, man. It's one of those things, you know, sometimes we're connected with people in a way that we can feel these things, even if we don't necessarily understand what it is we're feeling, which drives me crazy because sometimes my anxiety will just tell me I'm in the wrong place. But my brain will go, oh, fuck, what does this mean? What does it mean? You know, what catastrophe awaits me? It's like, no, man, it's too noisy here for you. But who's dying is always my first thought. Is it me?
They're coming.
Or that. Yep.
It's okay.
I remember when my grandfather passed. I know I've told the story on the show before, but yeah, it was 2005, and I was at home. He was in the hospital. He had cancer. He'd gone into a coma when they began treatment, and I was at home and I was cleaning. I was just kind of stress cleaning, and then all of a sudden the air just went out of me. I can't remember what time it was. I want to say it was like 11 or something, or 10, doesn't matter, but something like that. And the air just went out of me. And I just sat down on the stairs. I've been cleaning the banister. And I thought, nope, I'm done. And I went to bed. And half an hour later, there was a knock at my door. It was my mother and my sister to tell me that my grandfather had passed. And he had passed. At the time, I had felt that like, poof, was when he had gone.
Yeah, we're all connected somehow.
That's it. And Trevor, I have to be honest, I'd never heard of the Golden Horseshoe. I actually had to look it up. But it is apparently the region that kind of runs around the Great Lakes through Toronto and kind of down to Niagara. So yeah, I would love to do more stories from that region. It's kind of what I'm trying to do now that I was doing before I came back out, and I'll be doing when I get back, is trying to connect more with people over there and get more regional stories.
Cool.
Next up is from Fran. Fran says, hey, Brennan and Paul. I was just listening to the time slips episode, and I started wondering about whether some of the instances of time slips may be people with aphantasia having their first experience with a visualization. Maybe something about that moment or location triggers something that allows them to visualize what the site or location might have looked like, or what it could look like. Then they mistake this visualization as a time slip. Don't get me wrong, I think people do experience actual time slips, but I wonder if this could happen and the experience could be misattributed to a time slip. As I understand it, some people with aphantasia won't realize they have it, so without that context, what else would they think could be happening? Just wanted to share a thought you guys might like. All the best, Fran. Fran, that's a fascinating thought. I would love to know if any of our listeners have aphantasia and if what their experience of that is like. What are your thoughts, Paul?
I think it could certainly apply to some cases where there's only one witness, but I think if you've got more than one person, the chances of two people both suffering from it at the same exact time that they bump into each other is quite insurmountable, isn't it?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
But I certainly would, as with anything, I think there are certain explanations, and some, time slips, probably the most famous one's the Palace of Versailles, which I don't believe at all happened as described, and the more it was told, the bigger the story got.
Of course.
They just happened to be there. Two tourists who couldn't speak French. I think neither of them could speak French, if I remember. Oh. So, I think most people accept that they probably stumbled across a reenactment or a parade or something, and they just didn't know what the hell was happening and presumed that suddenly it was 1781 or something.
I think that might happen more than some people want to admit when reporting certain phenomena. Like, I remember Rachel told me a story once about a guy. I told her I'd be very, vague about this, but a guy who would do crazy prank stuff and like high end, very, very quality workmanship. He'd put like a statue of something deep in the woods and just wait for someone to find it. And they'd lose their fucking minds. And then of course he would take it and it'd be gone. And you'd rationally say, well, who would put something out in the woods? That's insane. But that was his whole thing. He was like, I will wait until I find the one person I get to fuck with. He was like a jester spirit on earth. It was brilliant. And I do wonder sometimes you've got like people just fucking with you, or guys who don't necessarily understand that like Ren fairs and reenactments are a thing. And they just turn up and there's a bunch of people in, wielding broadswords. And they're like, holy shit, I'm in the past. I'm going to get the plague.
Bring out your dead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah, who knows? I mean, there's a couple that are very... I know Bold Street's obviously the famous one, but there is another one there was two in the 50s in the UK that were quite well reported. One was a couple of young lads who walked into a local village and it suddenly, they thought it was like 200-300 years previously and everything was very odd, didn't look right. There were no street lights, things like that. And then I think the church bell chimed after about 20 minutes and everything went back to normal.
Oh, interesting. And sorry, where was that?
It was somewhere down south. Kent, somewhere like that, I think. Can't remember the details off the top of my head. And there was a similar one in Scotland with a woman whose car broke down and her and her dog decided to walk the rest of the way home. And she came across some kind of Pictish ceremony. And people kind of dismissed it. But one of the things that she described was the colour of the flames of the torches, which people say, well, they wouldn't have been that colour. And then they ended up doing some research and she was right.
Oh, no shit.
The torches, I think the torches were white, like they burned white, not normal flame colour. And it was because of certain peat that they tended to use. There was something she spotted that nobody was aware of until they actually did some archaeology on the sites.
Son of a bitch. I love stuff like that because like that's, how do you fake that? I mean, unless you're very, very lucky.
It's a wild thing to guess at.
And speaking of time slips, we had a message on YouTube from Junie Pure 8351.
Was it a message from the future?
It was, actually. You ruined the surprise. That was going to be the sting at the end.
Sorry.
And the call was coming from inside the house in the future. No, I'm fucking with you.
I woke up, Paul's there with Mary Tudor.
I don't love that I'm waking up next to you, my friend. I got to tell you. I like you, but not that much.
Heard that before. Carry on.
Oh, yeah, a tale as old as time. What are you doing in my house? How'd you get through the locks?
Where's your clothes?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, actually, I had a message on Blue Sky from someone a while back. I mentioned that there was a knock on my balcony door one night in my place in Ontario, and of course, I'm on the 6th floor, so knocks on the balcony are not welcome or expected. And it turned out that it was pigeons. It was like pigeons flapping their wings against my door. But someone, I joked about it on Blue Sky, and someone said, well, actually, my friend lived on, I think, the 7th floor or something, and one day she came home to her balcony door open and a homeless guy asleep in her bed, a bunch of half-eaten chicken wings from her fridge kind of around him. And he must have climbed over from someone else's balcony. But god damn, that would be terrifying.
Peter Parker, the meth he is.
Don't love it. And it makes me think of all the times here in Victoria, I've fallen asleep with the balcony door open because we're on the ground floor here. They may as well just have a giant neon sign saying Rob here. Actually, just before we move, I got to read June's message yet. But another thing that just occurred to me. Yesterday, I was laying on the couch in the morning, and Bodhi, our cat, who's obviously, our other cat, he was on my lap, and he was sort of chilling out, and he'd been a little stressy. And we weren't totally sure whether it was the squirrels just randomly wandering into the apartment, or if we think maybe it was Chewie's dementia having progressed so much that she was kind of being erratic, and I think it was freaking him out. But anyways, we also think, let's not let the squirrels inside too much, just in case. And so I'm sitting on the couch with him, and I left the balcony door open to get some airflow. Well, all of a sudden, this fucking squirrel just runs in, jumps up on the ottoman, is staring at me, jumps over to the couch, and because Bodhi's on my lap and I don't want to disturb him, I'm like, no, get the fuck out, go. And of course, squirrels famously don't speak English. So it is just not reacting to my desperate pleas. And I'm like waving my hand at it like I have fucking, telekinesis, trying to force push this thing off the couch. And it interprets this as, hey, let's party. So it starts running up and he's just staring at me. Like, what's up, my guy? You want to hang out? No, squirrel, get the fuck out of here, man. You're freaking out my cat. But I don't want to disturb him. So I'm just having to shout at you ineffectually. And it looks like I'm arguing with something 1/8 my size. And yeah, June, just quickly, June, she left a message that says, one day you'll run my forest/barn time slip story, one day. And June, thank you for the reminder, passive aggressive though it may have been. I did find it in the email and we'll be popping it into an upcoming show. So thank you.
Yes, please stop casting those spells now.
That'd be great. Yeah, those magnetic bracelets, very frightening. And the magnets you bought from AliExpress, even more so.
I should have got them from Temu.
It's funny. I used to buy stuff, and I don't much anymore because I don't need it. But back when we were doing a lot of mailing for the show, I used to buy a lot of envelopes from AliExpress because they had these black envelopes that I really liked that kind of became like signature for all the shit I mailed out. But I also will not buy from Temu or Shein. So I don't know why one is better than the other, but I just have this like, no, this is my chosen source of mass-produced garbage. Those other ones are bad.
This is my sweatshop and I like it.
That's it. Yeah, 100%. One time and I will move on very quickly, but one time I bought a box of sunglasses because I got it in my head, why am I paying, $40 for a pair of sunglasses when I can buy a box of them from AliExpress, from someone on AliExpress for like $10. Get a whole, well, it didn't occur to me they're not UV coated. So I'm just looking up in the sky. It's just colored glass frying my eyeballs. Couldn't figure out why my eyes hurt all the time. And now we have I guess that was a bad transition, but we have a really serious message, but we thought it was important to share.
Our message comes from Clay, and Clay says, "Hi, Brennan Paul. My name's Clay, and I'm suffering bad and I'm leaning on you. I had a relationship with an old friend who wanted to avoid dating and team up to take life together. She'd tell me not to date anyone or she'd be jealous of my time, and we'd made living plans together. And then after 4 years, she says, hey, so I'm seeing someone. I'm supposed to be happy that she wasn't holding herself to the standard that I was also being held to. Just thrown everything away. I'm destroyed. I've not eaten in 4 or 5 days. I've dropped 20 pounds and I'm a big guy, so I guess that's good."
And there's more to the message. I don't think it's a good idea to read it on the air. But yeah, man, I just want to say as much as this matters, like we're rooting for you. That's a bad situation. That sucks. And I don't mean saying this isn't going to help, but you got to eat. You got to take care of yourself. And I know it's hard. And he mentions, Clay goes on to mention he's got a couple jobs that keep him going. And that's important. Yeah, I don't like say we can't fix it, but we can certainly commiserate with you. And we wanted to make sure you knew you were being heard. So we wanted to read this out here.
Yeah. And there's nothing worse, Clay, than those kinds of feelings, mate. It feels like your innards have been ripped out and washed in bleach and then stuck back in, and you just don't feel right. You feel discombobulated. Yeah, it'll be shit for a bit, but you'll get through it, mate. You really will. As someone that's had his heart broken more than it should be, and often being held to a standard that others perhaps weren't. I know exactly where you're coming from, my friend. And it's tough and it's challenging, but take one day at a time, put one foot in front of the other, and you'll get there, and we'll still be here waiting for you.
That's it. I will say, though, take it easy on, you mentioned some stuff, again, in the second half. Take it easy. Don't, you got to allow yourself to process these emotions. And I know, I understand numbing is valuable, but you can't numb all of it because it accumulates. It doesn't go away. And so, yeah, even if you just let yourself feel a little bit at a time, it's okay to feel bad. It's okay to feel bad and to process some of that. You don't have to do it all at once, but otherwise it's always going to be kind of hanging over you. If you're numbing perpetually, it never goes away. Sometimes the only way out is through. All right. Well, on that heavy note, we are going to take a quick break for some ads, and then we'll be right back. welcome back. All right, next up we have a message from Elizabeth. Elizabeth says, "Hi, Brennan and Paul. Long-time lurker, first-time submitter." I love that. Love your show. Okay, so something strange happened to me last week. I was calling a doctor's office to make an appointment. It rang a couple times. Then a message came on that said, "The Dolls, Francis, can't take your call right now." Francis Doll was my grandpa's name, and he passed away 15 years ago. My grandpa lived in area code 218. My doctor is in area code 805. Nowhere near each other. I called back another 2 times and it said the same thing. When I tried to record the call, the message said, "Silence. Can't take your call right now." I waited 10 minutes, called again, and finally the doctor's office answered. I believe my grandpa dropped in to say hello. I was stunned at first, but now feel so special that he chose me. And Elizabeth, that is wonderful. That is the coolest. I just love that. I'm so thrilled for you that you had that experience and that I'm very grateful that you chose to share it with us. Paul is wrestling a cat.
Yeah, see, the big lummox behind me is fast on. And it's the smallest cat in the house has been a pain in the backside.
If I remember, folks, I'll put a screen grab of Paul right now. He's sitting and there's Theo is just zonked out on the couch behind him. It is adorable.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that the most famous sort of mysterious phone calls researcher, J. Scott Rogo's, one of his books has just been re-released after about 20 years, which has been curated by Dr. Cal Cooper, who has sort of taken up the mantle of these strange kind of experiences of people getting messages from the other side on a phone or a voicemail or something. So you're certainly not the first person to report something of that nature.
Yeah, no, that is very, very cool. Speaking of grandfathers, without this, I said I don't have a lot of stories on this show and I haven't shut my fucking mouth, but
well,
I was last night I went and got drunk, as I was mentioning to you off air. It was Whiskey Wednesday at Clive's Classic Lounge. So they have this really amazing whiskey there. It's called it's by a distillery called Sons of Vancouver. They're out of Vancouver, surprisingly. And they make this incredible, I think it's rye, but they only make it in small batches. So they do about batches of about 100 bottles of batches of about 200 bottles. And so you only really, they're very hard to get. You don't just go to the liquor store and get them. You know, it's kind of like know someone who knows someone kind of thing. So I've only ever tried it at Clive's. They have connections. They get each year they get the new one. And so I was there drinking, Summer Road Trip Across the Midwest was one of them. It's very lovely. And then another one that they introduced me to last night was called Rating Nona's Liquor Cabinet. And it's whiskey aged in Amaro barrels. It's really, really good stuff. But anyway, so I was sitting there drinking and I was working on some Fear Daily stories. And next to me were 2 grandfathers, essentially, desperately trying to fuck this woman sitting between them who was about half their age. And it didn't matter. And she never stopped talking. The whole time I was at that bar, she did not stop talking. They just agreed with whatever she said. And I've never seen a more desperate display of, yep, whatever you say, as long as you leave here with us. Oh God, please leave here with us.
Well, it's good to see some things never change.
Nope. Any conversation that starts with, "Oh, my husband is still working overseas." Okay, I know where this is going. So I'm just going to sit here and enjoy my whiskey and watch these guys debase themselves with the worst conversation I've ever heard on the off chance that they're going to get laid.
Sounds delightful.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was good times. And then I only heard this because this dude sat down next to me he sells robots that paint sports fields.
How many lessons was this after?
I'm sure he was there. I lost count, but I'm sure he was real and not just a fiction I created to keep myself company.
Yeah. What kind of sports fields? Like American football and things?
Yeah. Basically, yeah.
Smarts the lines out.
Yeah, it's like a drone that has the shit in it, the paint, and then you program it in an iPad. And it uses like radio positioning to just automatically paint the lines. You program the thing and it does it for you. And so he is all up and down the West Coast, or sort of Pacific Northwest, I guess, selling these things. And so he sort of got roped into their orbit as these old fellas were trying to woo this young woman whose husband probably is deeply grateful to be working overseas, if I'm honest, based on our conversation. It was, a whole thing. So I at the end of it, she left with him. She's like, let's go for the drive. About one, so again, a drive. Two, you guys have all been drinking quite a bit. I hope a drive is well, I both hope and don't hope that a drive is a metaphor.
I'm just disappointed. If they were that horny, you should have sold them a robot to fuck.
I'm not saying you can't fuck the line drawing robot. I'm just saying it wasn't specifically mentioned as a function of it.
Well, I know there's a field going to waste in Dallas. He might be able to get a job there.
This guy had been working in Texas, I think. It was actually kind of fascinating because I've never really been good at getting jobs. I'm very, very competent. I'm very good at pretty much whatever I put my hand to if I try long enough. But this dude, he's worked here, he's worked there, he gets bored, he gets a job somewhere else. And I was like, damn, that is very cool. He was telling me like he was selling, what was he selling? He was selling something during the pandemic. So he was driving through forest fires with a car full of chemicals. And he thought to himself, I should get a work from home job. Anyways, we're going to move on to the next letter here.
Okay, yeah. Moving on from Westworld Vancouver edition. Next up, Tam writes to us and says, yay, finally saved enough to pay for a year's subscription. I live in Hobart in Tasmania, to be exact. I wondered what your thoughts were on ghost tours. My first tour was the ye olde Hobart Jail, which ironically I was employed to clean for over 2 years. I never experienced anything even when vacuuming the tunnels between the courts. I rocked up and the guide said, you will smell lavender in the ladies' toilet and that is ivy. I'd never smelt lavender in that toilet except shite. Then they informed us that you'll hear piano music in the chapel and a loud metallic banging outside where they used to hang people. Please. A convict escaped and took off. Unfortunately, it was opposite the jail that the pub where the guards frequented was. So we had a convict running flat maggot down the road, ball and chain clanging. Guards recognised the sounds of metal on the road and chased him into an alleyway. I'm yet to prove this happened. To me, they put into your mind that the building has ghosts. And then my daughter talked me into the Port Arthur ghost hunt. I agreed only after buying a rosary, a cross necklace and some earrings. I was not entering into that shite without protection. But it was a totally different experience. They told you nothing. We started at the chapel at 10 a.m. and the hunt went on until 3 a.m. It was expensive, but the homemade pumpkin soup, bread roll and chocolate ghost on a stick was great halfway through. We did the commandant's cottage, got shut in a wee small room that the doctor loved to dissect convicts in. I swear to God, if someone had played with my hair, which is apparently common, I was going to go full ninja. After the tour, we went back to the chapel, and the laptop showed some movements and sounds. On playback, you could quite clearly hear whispering, and it was great to receive a CD of the tour. But for me, the scariest part was the parking lot. It just felt so sad. And I know that is where actually 2 little girls were shot. The new Norfolk tour is reasonably priced, and my 3 daughters came with me and I volunteered to be shut in a body drawer. My middle daughter freaked out after a couple of minutes. I could hear her, "Get out, open the door, get her out." I told her to shut up, I'm fine. She had nightmares for nearly a month. I just think it brought home death as a reality. Still new to Norfolk, told you nothing. I love ghost tours that let you see or feel what you can. I love your show. Keep up the mental health. Still loving Precious Pup's laugh. I'm aware of 2 of those locations and their numerous claims of haunted activity. The jail is infamous in Australian paranormal circles.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah. There's a very dark history in Australia that if you scratch, it doesn't just affect the indigenous populations that were usurped.
Right.
They obviously a lot of people that were sent there to get them out of Britain.
Of course, right.
And so they weren't treated very well when they got there. So yes, a lot of those places there are quite I've got some quite full-on stories, I have to say.
So we have 2 more messages. One is from June. June says, a different June from the other. There's a lot. You're going to hear a lot of similar names, but they're not all from the same person. I swear we have more than like 5 people who write us emails. Bren314 writes, Bren, you are so handsome and funny. I love it when you reference obscure movie things that only you care about. Please don't ever stop. Sincerely,
Commanders
not Bren.
Pablo says...
This is when I accidentally dox my alt account.
Theo writes...
Theo _ not the dog one.
And his message is, where's my fucking biscuit?
I love that he sounds a little bit like Ray Winstone.
All dogs do, don't they? I know, if he wakes up, he go, get the biscuits out, Dad. Or I'll cut you. I know what you did, son. I'm going to shit in your bed.
That's a ringtone right there. All right. So June says, hi, Paul. Hi, Brennan. I was listening to the latest Talk Spooky to Me, Death by Laptop, and you guys started talking about one of my absolute favorite things, liminal spaces. I don't know why I'm endlessly fascinated by it, why I watch countless video games playthroughs of pool rooms or back rooms, the lost tapes, and the like, but I can't get enough. Have you ever been in your high school in the evening when no other souls are around? Dark classrooms, long empty hallways, the feeling like it should be full of students bustling to their next classes in their friend groups? Or the dying mall that was once popular in your youth but now is no longer receiving foot traffic or cosmetic repairs? The space feels transitional, uncomfortable, and familiar. I pulled a Brennan not too long ago, this should be interesting, and moved into a brand new city to start fresh. Oh, okay, I'm pretty cool with that. I think for similar reasons, to help with my mental health. I moved from sleepy Abbotsford, BC into the downtown core of Calgary, Alberta, and I moved in the beginning of October when the weather was still warm and daylight was still kicking around till supper time. Since I didn't know anyone outside of some very shallow connections between my new coworkers, I often wandered alone in the city, which led me to discover the Plus 15. What is the Plus 15? Well, it's my favorite part of the city. It is a series of covered walkways approximately 15 feet above street level, thus the Plus 15. And they connect the second floors of buildings to one another. Because the buildings were developed after the buildings were built, they were installed in whichever way made more sense regarding architecture and the structure of the building. What's more, each building gets to decide the layout of the second floor, on how the floor plan works to allow people to move from one bridge to another. This means there is absolutely no standardization or coherence between any of the buildings. For example, from one bridge you enter the second floor of a large office building complex. This building has decided to put a massive food court on the second floor to make money on the invasion of office workers that fill the tower from the third floor up looking for a hot lunch. You continue through the food court and city floral shops around corners and come across another bridge. You walk across and arrive at a narrow hallway of brown tile and 80s mall aesthetics. There is a tailor shop tucked away, maybe a pharmacy. You walk your way through and end up at another bridge leading across the road to yet another building who has decided to have one large deli-style cafeteria and atrium of tropical plants. To get lost in the Plus 15 is expected. Nothing makes sense, nothing is logical, and you can hit dead ends and closed bridges when you least expect it. From my apartment, I can walk from the west end of the downtown core all the way to Chinatown on the east side. Altogether, there is about 16 kilometers, roughly 10 miles, of elevated, weather-protected, and climate-controlled walkways in downtown Calgary. It used to be a bustling, well-utilized system, but then the pandemic happened. As you can imagine, the same death that happened to our childhood malls still happened to the Plus 15. Many of the restaurants and stores shut down. In fact, the entire downtown core suffered a mass exodus of people who moved to the suburbs. During the weekdays, especially at lunchtime, the downtown core is busy and filled with office workers. Those little cafeterias are full of people in business suits and taking power lunches. But at the end of the workday, or on the weekends, the city is a ghost town. Even for the people who remained in the downtown core would rather walk outside in the sunshine while the weather held. And that is exactly the time when I explore the Plus 15. It feels like I'm in one of the backroom video games, and I love it. Long empty hallways that have the energy of well-worn foot traffic. Empty shops that have large windows into cavernous, empty, and shadowed spaces. Large planters of tropical plants well-maintained and thriving under a hallway of glass skylights, in a space where only the hum of the aircon and your footsteps keep you company. A gallery of full-sized cow statues from Y2K called Utterly Art, lining a hallway next to an empty parkade. It isn't a moment of liminal space, which you sometimes get in an office building or department store. This is a whole network of liminal space, dripping with nostalgia and emptiness. I walk the plus 15 regularly, still getting lost and still discovering new pockets of space that honestly feel like they shouldn't exist. If you are curious to see what the plus 15 was like in the golden era, there is a terrible, dark comedy film about it called Way Downtown from the year 2000. You can watch the whole thing on YouTube if you're so inclined. It is really bad, though. If you ever end up in Calgary, forget the Stampede or other cowboy-esque activities of the city. Take a day to get lost in the plus 15 backrooms. And June, that is the coolest shit. I desperately want to go to Calgary and see that now. I fucking love liminal space. If you ever see my Instagram, Largely the Truth, that's kind of my passion. I love taking photos of liminal spaces. That just sounds cool as hell.
It's strange sometimes when you find that there's parts of London I've been in. If you go in like the financial district on a Saturday, there's nobody there.
That would be bizarre in a place like London.
It is. It's crazy.
Oh man, I love that shit. There's actually Moby, his hotel album is kind of meant to be a sort of a tribute to that feeling, that sort of transitory, not necessarily the back rooms, because that wasn't so much a concept in back then, but just that sort of space of like the familiar but transitional.
Yes, I do love Moby.
He's pretty, I haven't listened to anything he's done in years, but I know from that period from like 99 to about 2013, I listened to a lot of his shit.
Yes, I've been there since the early 90s.
Oh wow, so back before he was cool.
Yes, he was cooler. Well, I suppose it's time for our last message of this episode, sir.
Sounds good to me, my friend. Fire away.
And this is from Joseph. And Joseph says, "Hello. I've been slowly working my way through the Ghost Stories library, and I've really been enjoying it. Besides my love for the supernatural, I think it's really cool when you talk about independent musical artists. If you have the time, I'd really like to hear your opinion on the music I make in a local band called Lunargeist. We have an older album out on streaming services, but we're currently working on new music." And I have listened to it. I hope it's them anyway, because I found them on YouTube and I've listened to 3 of their tracks.
Very cool. I have not had a chance to listen yet, but I fully intend to.
It's very ethereal.
Oh, I'm always up for that. So when you guys get that new stuff recorded, Joseph, you send us an email, send us a link where we can download it, and we'll definitely put it on the show. And that goes for anyone out there. If you are an independent musical artist, we love, as you guys know, and if you're new to the show, this is a thing we like to do. We love to feature you at the end of Talk Spooky. And just send your music to ghoststoryguys@gmail.com. Put musical feature in the subject, and so I know to look for it. And I think our patron Liam sent some stuff from his band. So I think now that puts us into, I want to say mid-May. But if you send it, we'll get it in. If it'll be probably end of May, early June, or however that works out. But again, we love giving you guys a platform. It's very exciting for us because we're both music fans. We're both fans of art and independent artists, and it's just a fun way to weave some fresh threads into our show every couple weeks.
Especially if you're a Welsh singer called Marina with a new album coming out.
I figure at that point they can probably afford to pay us a little bit.
I'll take money from her.
Okay, for Paul, we want Marina, Miss Diamandis. We don't have to pay.
No, for anything. I'll show you my stamps.
Oh yeah, Paul's got some cryptid stamps. Yes,
these are the newly released Myths and Legends of the British Isles by my employer. And nobody told me about this until I got an email at work about, look at our lovely new stamps. So we've got Beowulf, we've got Nessie, we've got Cornish Pixies, we've got Selkies, Jenny Greenteeth, Black Shucks.
The Ghost Story Guys, let us show you our stamps. And of course, speaking of independent artists, it is that time of the show, a time where we get to share with you some new music. And this time around, we have another returning guest. We have friend of the show, Greco Ray. And Greco has actually sent us a number of tracks to choose from, and I decided to give you 2 because I thought a little extra music is never a bad thing. First up will be Wide Awake, and that is just by Greco Ray. And after that is Stay With Me by Arib Mahmoud and Greco Ray. You can find more from Greco Ray by searching for her music on streaming platforms everywhere, by clicking the link in the show notes, or by heading to instagram.com/Greco Ray. That's GRECORAY. Thanks as always for your messages, your kind comments, your lovely compliments. We deeply, deeply appreciate them. We love hearing from you guys. So even if we don't get your stuff into Talk Spooky, please know we read all your messages and we appreciate every single one of them very, very much. We will see you next week for episode 212. And until then, we will leave you with 2 tracks from Greco Ray, the first being Wide Awake, and the second, Stay With Me with Arib Mahmood.